This situation keeps getting worse as Oilers fans are livid at these two former Edmonton Oilers having amazing seasons on different teams and are making the team regret not keeping them over the off-season. Hello everyone, welcome back to Oilers Digest. My name is Nikash Ganguli. As always, hope everyone is having a great day, great time whenever you guys are watching this. And in today's video, we will be discussing whether or not it was a good decision for the Oilers back in the offseason to not match the offer sheets of both Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg. They're having great seasons. There's been a lot of talk, especially recently with Dylan Holloway having a great season and how he would have been, the better option to keep given how much he made. And we're going to get into that and more on today's edition of Oilers Digest. But as always, before we get into that and more, make sure you guys do, of course, subscribe to the channel. We are at 80% of viewers who are currently not subscribed. So if you are in that section of viewers who are not subscribed to the channel, it's really easy. Just hit the button, hit subscribe. And if you want to know right when our videos are coming out, hit that notification bell. And let's get the subscribe section well above 19%. We are getting closer to the NHL playoffs. They are just, I think, under a month away, 3 weeks away. So we're going to be covering all the Oilers playoff moves, leading, the injuries, anything that's going on Oilers related here on Oilers Digest, as always, in the most digestible fashion. And with that being said, everyone, let's get straight into the bulk of the video. So obviously, let me remind you, of course, of the original offer sheet. If we look here, Broberg's contract was $4.5 million average annual value, and the Oilers got a second-round pick in compensation. And then Holloway's contract was only $2.29 million in value, which resulted in a third-round pick of compensation from the Blues to the Edmonton Oilers, of course. Now, a lot was talked mostly about the Broberg contract in this. Was he worth $4.5 million at the time of the signing? A lot of people thought maybe he wasn't because he was mostly playing on the third pair. He wasn't even like a regular NHL player sometimes in the playoffs. He wasn't getting played a lot. So that one was a more understandable contract not to match. But one of the biggest ones, I think that a lot of Oilers fans, and maybe Stan Bowman is saying, although he did have a quote saying, if they did match it, they would have had to let go of a core player, but maybe Holloway could have been that core player. It's because Dylan Holloway is having a superb season in St. Louis. St. Louis has been on a tear as of lately, especially after the Four Nations face-off, and a lot of that has to do with the play of Dylan Holloway. So let's dive right into that, of course. So first thing to look at is the NHL point leaders since March from Sport Logic here. Obviously, you have a lot of superstars here like William Nylander, Jack Eichel, Sidney Crosby, Nikita Kucherov, and right there with them is none other than Dylan Holloway, who has 19 points in March, one of the best players this month, really locking in for the St. Louis Blues, who are trying to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I think this is something the Edmonton Oilers have desperately needed all season. The depth they picked up, which we'll get into later in the video, has not even been close to the level of production Dylan Holloway has been putting up. Even across the season, he did have an injury a little bit early in the season, but, if you span it over the whole season, he has just been better than a lot of Oilers players who are making more money than him, of course. And then even if we want to go back like a week or so, if you look at Dylan Holloway since the Four Nations, 22 points in 18 games, so well over a point-a-game player, and in that amount of time, he has 10 goals. So it's not just assists he's putting up, he's putting the puck in the net as well. 10 and 12 there, 12 assists, 10 goals, which has been superb production for him. And I think Oilers fans, let me know in the comments, are you guys thinking that was a blunder by the front office not matching Dylan Holloway? Another thing to look at, just speaking about the depth of the Edmonton Oilers, if we do look at this here from Phil Landry, this was before Zach Hyman scored. The only Oiler with more goals than Holloway this year is Leon Draisaitl. What a massive mistake. Now, I think a lot of Oilers fans are echoing this. I've seen it on social media. Dylan Holloway seems like the one that kind of got away. The Oilers were looking for secondary scoring this year. They had it a little bit last year. And, Dylan Holloway, what is he? He's been a focal point of the St. Louis Blues offense, especially, since they made the coaching change. So I think it has been, I think, honestly, it was a blunder. Maybe you're not as concerned about Philip Broberg here. But even if we do look at Holloway's counting stats, of course, he has 62 points in 74 games played, almost 30 goals. He might end the season with 30 goals, and then 36 assists on the year. Just having an amazing season for a 14th overall pick. I think that is You know, I think it is something the Oilers should have just matched. They could have made it work. They gave contracts to Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner that were comparable to Dylan Holloway, and you should have just given the money to Dylan Holloway. Homegrown talent drafted in 2020, been in the organization for 4 years at that point, almost 5. It just would have been smart to keep him. And even, you know, if the accounting stats don't convince you, we could even dive into the advanced stats here, looking at natural stat trick. Goals for percentage at 63%. He's just, you know, controlling play out there. And an expected goals percentage of 53%. And an expected goals against, obviously, 37. He has been amazing even outside of the counting stats. Just been a superb player for the St. Louis Blues. Making under $3 million. Under $2.5 million. And another question we must ask is, you know, what about Philip Broberg? He has 30 points this year. Or sorry, 27 points, 61 games. Just about under half a point a game player. Pretty good. 8th overall pick all the way back in 2019. So, you know, it's been a while since he was drafted, but he's only 23 years old. $4.5 million. I think he is a $4.5 million defenseman. 27 points is very, very solid for him. And, you know, he is almost outscoring the two wingers, Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner, that were brought in to, with the money that would have been given to both Broberg and Dylan Holloway. So I think, you know, this is a big miss from the Edmonton Oilers from my end. I wasn't always the biggest Philip Broberg fan, but he has played really well in St. Louis. Maybe that would have never happened in Edmonton, given, like, an Evan Bouchard playing, you know, the bulk of the offensive roles. You know, a lot of, you know, defensive ice time taken up by the Darnell Nurses and Matthias Ekholms of the world. So who knows if Philip Broberg would have blossomed this way. Some Oilers fans believed him, some Oilers fans didn't, of course. But with Dylan Holloway, I think that's just going to be, at the end of the day, a big miss that Oilers fans might think about if they don't end up winning the Stanley Cup, of course. Even if we do look at Dylan Holloway's Philip Broberg's advanced stats, they're also good, comparable to Holloway's, almost the same kind of numbers, which is crazy. You know, if we're looking at advanced stats, obviously, goals for percentage, just, you know, how much are you controlling the play when you're on the ice? Anything that's well above 50 is a pretty solid NHL player, and he is well above 50 there. And then, of course, we do have to dive in, to the players that were kind of the replacements, quote-unquote, for Holloway and Broberg. If we do look at Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner, of course. So, Victor Arvidsson, again, 22 points in 57 games. And then, you know, like I said, if we look here, again, 27 points in 61 games for Broberg. And then 22 points in 57 games for Arvidsson. So, Arvidsson just straight up hasn't been good for the Edmonton Oilers. I think they tried him with a lot of different lines. He's a -2 on the year on a team that's been pretty successful. So, you know, it's not even worth comparing him to Holloway. Holloway's pretty much blown him out of the water, making the same amount of money. And even Philip Broberg is outperforming him. So, you know, pretty big blunder by the Edmonton Oilers on there, although Arvidsson was coming off an injury. And then if we do look at Jeff Skinner here, again, 24 points in 62 games. Still, again, getting outperformed by Philip Broberg. So, not the craziest deal at the end of the day. So, I do think the Oilers did miss out. But this does beg the question, what do you guys think at the time of the move that it was smart to let Broberg and Holloway go? Do you think they should have just matched one of them, maybe let Broberg go? I think that seems like the most likely option. Holloway is playing just out of his mind, and he's still so young. He's only going to go up, so this might look worse and worse. And again, Sam Bowman said in a quote pretty recently that if they did keep them, they would have had to move out a core player. Again, I said Holloway could have been that core player. They had already allocated money to Skinner and Arvidsson, and again, I think you could have just given that money to Broberg and Holloway. But again, guys, as we always know, hindsight is 20/20. So let me know in the comments, are you guys regretting the move the Oilers made for both these players? Or are you still sticking to, you know, at the time, early July when they made the signings, it was the right move to do, and then not matching the offer sheets was also the right thing to do. So let me know in the comments, guys. And as always, hope everyone did enjoy the video. Make sure you guys subscribe if you liked it. And as always, we will see you in the next one. Peace out.